So I just want to go through a few products that you want to look at if you want to have a planted aquarium, because essentially if you want to have a successful planted aquarium, there's three things you want to be concerned about, which is the light you have on the aquarium, the fertilizer which is provided for the plants, and the amount of CO2. So I'll go through each of them in a little bit of detail. So first of all, when you go to set the tank up, it's preferable if you use power sand. So this is power sand from 80A, and what that does is sort of retain heat, releases good nutrients and so forth for your plant roots. But one of the main advantages is that it keeps it's thermal regulated, so it keeps the temperature higher. Then on top of that, you place your aqua soil, which is another 80A product, which is basically a little beaded mud ball, which is absolutely full of iron and all your good fertilizers. And it's really important when you use these substrates that you fill them up very, very slowly with water. So you just trickle the water in, because if you use any pressure in the hose, the water will go cloudy, and then it might take you a couple of water changes to clear that, and the filter will help to clear it. So you use that as your substrate. You want to have a nice thick bed so the plants have got plenty of roots. If you are using fluorescent lighting, then make sure you're replacing your tubes sort of every 12 months. T5, it's the same with power compacts, same with metal halides. There are various LED lights now that apparently don't need to be replaced for like 5 years, so just know the limits of your particular light. In general, the bluer the light, the taller the plants grow, and the redder the light, the fatter the plants grow. So the type of light you offer will affect how the plants grow too, and which plants actually grow. Now, if you are going to use high intensity LED or high intensity metal halides or something like that, your plants may grow quite well, therefore need a considerable amount of fertilizer to keep iron in the water, and also need CO2 supplementing. So you can supplement CO2 using an actual CO2 bottle. The CO2 bottle is best if it's got a solenoid, so that can just go to a timer on the wall, and you run the CO2 during the daytime, and then the CO2 must switch off at night. And it's very important you do not run your CO2 at night. If you don't want to have the trouble of having a CO2 bottle, a regulator, a solenoid valve, and a diffuser, then you might decide to use a product such as Carbomax or Flourish Excel. And if you dose them a couple of times a week, then they're going to provide a organic carbon source. There are other products too, such as No More Blackbeard, that should not be used in conjunction with Flourish Excel or Carbomax, because they're too similar products and they help to stop blackbeard algae. And a lot of the times, if you're not getting enough fertilizer in your plants and you're not getting a good enough result from your substrate alone, you might decide to use a actual iron supplement plant food. This particular one you use when you do a water change, and this one you use just for your top-ups. So it's important to supplement your plants where they need it. So once again, if your plants are healthy and lush and growing well, you've got nothing to worry about. If over time your plants are starting to wilt, they're not looking as green and as healthy as they were, then if you, one at a time, examine what you're offering in regards to light, what you're offering in regards to fertilizer, and what you're offering in regards to CO2, and by tweaking those particular things, you should actually have thriving plants. And so ultimately there's a few ways that you can select plants for your aquarium. You can either just get about 5 different bunches and see which ones are going to suit your aquarium, because some people don't go to any of this extreme, and because the fish do produce some CO2 and the fish do produce some nutrient waste, that's enough to grow some plants. But then the more specific the environment you create, with the substrates, with the CO2 supplementing, with the increased light, will mean that you will actually be able to keep a wider range of plants. So once again, you can either create an environment for the plants you want, or you can just try a whole bunch of different types of plants and see which ones suit your environment. And also be aware of buying full aquatic plants, because if you have goldfish or something that eat plants, you might decide to go for some of the non-aquatic plants, because your goldfish are just going to eat them anyway. But if you are trying to keep a planted aquarium, then it's much better to use real aquatic plants. So at least you've got some chance of them living.